see them up there competing and being here in Masterton. Of course, a huge thanks to Masterton once again for hosting the Golden Shears and hosting all of us here. I know we're pretty well looked after out where we are, the South Park Hotel. I'm sharing a room with Jerome and Johnny Fraser, unfortunately, but like South Park, you might have seen that on television. The guys on there, I've got a couple of cartoon characters living with me too. I call them Beavis and Butthead, and it's not too hard to figure out which one's Beavis and which one's Butthead, but that's the way it rolls down at the old South Park motels down there. But anyway, back up on the shearing board's probably more important than all the cartoon characters. But Jeremy Goodger, stand number 1. Got his second sheep on the board, but not for long. He's down the last side. Stuart Robson, the young Scotsman from the borders in Scotland, over the tail, another couple of shots, and he'll be looking for sheep number 3 as well. There it goes, beautiful clean job. Gabriel Winders already out on the board with 3. One more left in the pen for these guys. Liam Pritchard and Keith Swan, like you said, Jerome just shearing away blow for blow, just swinging through the backbone. Nice and comfortable. Keith Swan from Wairarapa turns for home.
Yeah, they're just a little bit ahead, these two boys on stands 4 and 5, and they look reasonably happy and doing a good job. See, now the pen points out the back, they've disappeared, so we're not going to know who's in the final until it gets announced later on by Greg. So that's all out of your control. All you can do is get up and share. And the young boy from Scotland, you're going good, Stuart. Like, if you make that final, we will find you a queen to take home, boys. So he's pushing along hard. Look at him go. Found a new lease of life. Norman up the neck.
It's a fair old incentive you'd offered him there, Joey. It's a fair incentive you'd offered him.
Oh, it is a great incentive for him. Like, be better than having a local girl to take home and meet mum, you know. We can breed the Scottish out of his family lines. It'll take a few years, but
get some good Kiwi in over there, you reckon, eh?
Yep. Oh, for sure. But it's 4th sheep on the board for stands 4 and 5, and they are quite a bit ahead. Young Gabriel Winders, he's coming down the last side now, and he sort of picked up the pace. So too is Matthew Smith down the end there. So it's a good heat. These boys are setting quite a good pace on 4 and 5, and Jeremy Goodyear there, the master presser there, round the back of there. Come on, Jeremy, just keep moving along, mate. You're doing a great job. Just keep that bottom tooth on the skin. We want to see you again. But it's still stand 5 and 4, round onto the long blow they come. Big sweeping blows. Liam Pritchard from Masterton, Keith Swan from Wairarapa. Up the long blow they come now. Looks like they're all doing a pretty good job. Remember, they are getting judged outside, and we don't know those points. I've taken them away. So we're going to have a little bit of suspense until we announce the finalists later on. Looks like our screens have gone off, but
excuse me, guys, can I just quickly call Pip Dalgleish? Pip Dalgleish. Pip, if you're in the stadium, please come to the table, please. Thank you, guys.
Cheers, Greg. So heat number, what are we looking at up there? Heat number 1, the junior semis. She's all sorts of things going on up there in the old computer, but young Rob Stewart on stand number 2 just backs out onto the board. And away down the belly rolls. And Jeremy Goodyer, finishing touches. There's a couple of our boys there, 2 leaders straight in their back. Jeremy just a wee bit all on the handpiece, heating up a bit. Steps in and out of the pen for his 4th and final sheep. Stuart Robson straight down the hind leg, the young Scotsman. Right up the undermine of the sheep. One big sweeping blow followed by another one. And just chuck a 3rd one in for good measure. Just leave a good last side for him. Gabriel Winders from Southland right out into the hind leg, shearing nicely. Sheep number 4 on the board. And Matthew Smith. Hang on to her, mate. It gets out the porthole eventually, but well done, Matthew. Good, nice shearing. And Gabriel Winters, beautifully finished job there as that one ducks out the hole as well. He can hit the red button. Time clock stop for Gabriel. Just Stuart Robson and our top presser up here on stand number 1, Jeremy Goodger. Just competing in the triathlon. Great to see him in the top 18 of the shearing. Always see him in the top 2 or 3 of the wool pressing. Stuart Robson turns for home. Down over the last front shoulder. Right out onto the hock. Great to see Stuart here in New Zealand competing so well. All these international shearers certainly added different flavour to the Golden Shears, and just proves that shearing really is an international sport. Sheep all around the world that have got to be shorn, and human nature just dictates that we compete against each other. Doesn't matter what we're doing, shearing's no different. Well done, Stuart. Do you think that's qualified him for a bride, Joey, or?
Yeah, I've just had a message on Facebook from a river queen from Wanganui, quite interested.
Oh, yes, yes.
They're quite good breeders too, so we'll probably do all right.
Is that one of your exes, or?
No, just an acquaintance, but we'll sort that out from later if he qualifies. But Jeremy's just on the long blow now, and he's just taking his time, the big fella. He actually goes slow when he's pressing in it. He's sometimes slow as smooth and smooth as fast, no. Bit like when you were playing rugby for South Canterbury. Slow as smooth and smooth as fast.
Yep, about the only boys I could beat on the rugby paddock was the Wanganui players. But anyway, up on the stage, down over the last front shoulder, Jeremy Goodger. Shearing beautifully, just making sure that he keeps the judges happy. Closely watched by that South Island judging legend, Mr. Paul Harris.
Hi viewers out there in the World Wide Web. We're coming to you compliments and of Wairarapa TV and Noise Productions, and we're beaming live out of the Masterton War Memorial Stadium here on a beautiful balmy Friday afternoon, and it is our pleasure to bring into the studio this afternoon the one and only Mr. Des Williams. And Des is the publisher, the chief writer, the chief photographer of this wonderful magazine, which has been going out to the shearing world since 1984. So Des, welcome to the studio.
Kia ora, Kuro. Pleasure to be here.
Hey, and the whakapapa, I suppose we should say, of the magazine. In 1984, it was it came out of nowhere, really, didn't it?
Well, it came out of a hotel bar in Wellington, if I'm to be,
Okay.
if I'm to believe Doug Lang, who was one of the 3 journalists who started the magazine, Kuro. Doug, together with Hugh de Lacy, who's also a familiar name in the shearing industry and a journalist, and Ian Morrison was the 3rd.
He was a wallboard man, wasn't he?
I'm not sure about Ian. He was a rural writer of some note. And as I recall Doug explaining the story to me once, they were having a Friday night ale, and some other special interest magazine was being discussed, and one of them said, the shearing industry needs a magazine. And I think from that idea was born the idea, and it originally came out at the end of 1984 as a newsletter for the New Zealand Shearing Contractors Association. And it remained the newsletter for 4 years, I think, at 2 editions per year.
Well, if you folks out there, you don't get this, how do they get a hold of it, Des?
It goes free to all the country hotels, goes to most of the shearing contractors throughout New Zealand, or your rural merchandise stores, Wrightson's, Williams and Kettle, you name them, farmlands, all those stores. It goes. They all get a dozen or so copies, and so if you're not in there the first day they arrive, they've all gone. Apparently, that's what people tell me.
What if I lived in the back of Timbuktu in America?
You could subscribe to it, and I would send it to you. In fact, that's what happens. I think I've got at least a couple of hundred overseas subscribers.
Great.
Taking in maybe 15 or 20 different countries.
Right.
Including the back of Timbuktu in America. So, yep.
Hey, look, the latest magazine's got a beautiful photo on it, and how come an Irish couple have made the cover of the Rolling Stone of the magazine here?
Yes. Well, it's quite a brief story, but the lovely lady, her name is Hazel Morahan, and I met her in my hometown hotel of Tuatapere. They were, Hazel and several friends were here for the World Championships. Of course, the man beside her, Ivan Scott, quite a useful shearer too.
World record holder.
World record holder. He was a member of the Irish team, and so these group of women were having lunch this day, and we got talking, and who was with who, and Hazel said, well, my boyfriend's a guy called Ivan Scott.
Tipperary, isn't he? Is Tipperary?
Somewhere up that way.
Oh, right, he's my cousin.
Is he? Right, okay, yes, yeah. So that's how they end up on the cover, and there's an old rule that you always put the best photo on the cover, and I thought, and if you look through that magazine, you'll agree that that's the best photo in the magazine. So that's how it ends up on the cover.
Well, Des, we've come to the end of our interview. So this is not a full-time job for you, is it?
No, my day job's with the Department of Conservation in Hamilton. I do media advisory work, and the magazine gets done at weekends, an hour before, from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the morning, and from probably 5 o'clock till about 7 o'clock at night, and however long it takes. But there's always something to do on the magazine, and it gets put together. Comes out 3 times a year, so there's 3-4 months between editions. So stuff comes in and it gets put on a page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, folks out there in the World Wide Web and live streaming. Mr. Des Williams, the editor and chief writer and photographer of this wonderful magazine, which is full of information. We can go on, but we might bring Des back into the studio again tomorrow, and we might talk about some of the content in this one, because there is some good stuff in there, and it's gutsy, and we look forward to it. So, Des, thank you very much, and tēnā koe, and thank you for spending time here in the studio.
Okay, cheers.
Back to you.
Right out onto the toe. Another couple of shots, but there's a few shearers going to be joining them there as well. Last leg time. 4 stands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, so you can throw a blanket over them. Oh, Will Rogers just found himself a difficult New Zealand female. Got to pick it right up and start again, so carry on, Will. That's the way he whips the wall off over the tail, and out it goes. Rolls it out the porthole. And in for sheep, number 2, the big fella on stand number 2. Jonathan Painter down the belly he goes, but Artify Hatfield, he's the first into the hind leg on stand number 4. Artify way up the backbone of the sheep he rolls, comes from a very well-known, highly respected shearing family. Top knot comes off, Artify, up the neck he steps. Just got to keep things under control. It's waving to the crowd with his front leg. Up into the base of the ear and around the back of the head. So he's a top young shearer, this boy. Great to see them doing so well. Up comes Jonathan Painter. Some good names up there in this grade there. Jerome there, and they're shearing nicely.
Yeah, there is a really good lineup of junior shearers, and young Artify there coming around onto the long blow. Boy from Wairarapa, Jonathan Painter. He's pretty much in all the finals as well on stand 3 from Paetua just up the road. So he's probably got a bit of local knowledge. Brooke Hamilton down there, he's on the long blow. So they're all shearing along pretty well. This heat actually, it's a good heat. Got the left-handed man on stand 2 from England. He's coming around onto the first front shoulder. We don't see a lot of left-handed shearers normally. We don't really teach them left-handed anymore, do we?
No, it's only the probably the worst of them and the most difficult that you see shearing with their left hand anymore, like Johnny Fraser, one of our left-handed shearers. We just let him get on with it because he's too hard to teach any other way.
Yeah, but to be fair on Johnny, like, even if he was right-handed, he'd still be average anyway, wouldn't he?
Yeah, at best.
Yeah.
Be average at best.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're a bit of a challenge these ewes for some of these competitors. There's some feet and legs and bits and pieces flying left, right and centre. Yeah, all judges better watch out. They'll get an eye taken out. Anyway, up the hole for Jonathan Painter. Change of steel by the look of it. He's just changing his handpiece. Try another comb. Fresh cut, doesn't do any harm. Out on the board with sheep number 3, I think it is, for Jonathan. Oh, got himself a bit of a niggly one. Will Rogers into the pen for sheep number 3 as well. Jonah Karina Tapu on stand number 1. Round through the crutch into the first hind leg. The big fella rolls. Opens it up. Mark Baxter, the big man, on stand number 5. He backs out on the board with another sheep, and it's his third one on the board as well. Way down the belly he rolls. And a big top knot comes off on one. So he might be just slightly out in front of the rest of the field as far as pace goes. The South Island boy on stand 1.
Geez, you look up there, Norm, on the big screen. Oh, it just switched off, mate, and they just had a close-up. Oh, there you go.
Good work.
That's a hell of a melon, isn't it? That is a melon. Oh, lucky it's a wide lens.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, good on you.
I'm glad the Shearing come back on.
So am I.
It's a pretty close heat. This boy on stand 1's going well too. Jonah Karina Tutapu from Matilda down there in the south. I used to stay in the old beside the pub there in the accommodation, and yeah, we used to have a lot of fun down there with the locals after closing. But that's another story. But up to Longblow he comes now, and he's just taking his time, doing a good job as well. Pretty good points. It's a close heat. Well, a man down there on 6, he's slipped into the lead. Hamilton, down the last side he comes. Jonathan Painter, the young, clean-cut looking fella on stand number 3. He should be an accountant or a banker, eh, Norm? Like, he looks too nice to be a shearer, doesn't he, really?
What are you saying about shearers?
Well, if you're anything to go by, not a lot. You know, it's that image we've got of that rough diamond. Yeah. You'll put more like a bit of a rough piece of coal, but he's a good little shearer, Jonathan Painter. A couple of blows to go, but this boy down here on 6, they all want to make the final, and they know they've got one crack at it. Englishman down the last side. It's a close heat, Norman.
Very close. They're making a competition of it, these boys, that's for sure. In goes Jonah on stand 1, Jonathan on stand 3. Another couple of shots we'll have Will Rogers and the Englishman. We'll have Artify Hadfield and Brooke Hamilton. If I remember rightly, Brooke Shaw well on the heats. He had a good time, so Brooke's doing the same again. He's just taking it to the rest of the field, but half the field is sticking with him this time. Of course, the pressure's on. They need to make sure they do their best to get through into the next round. This is almost a final on its own. In goes big Mark Baxter on stand number 5. Slides in for his 4th and final sheep. Out onto the board he backs. He's going to have to look for the old cord. Where is it? Where's that bloody cord gone? There it is. That's a sort of trick you'd play, Joey. How hide the cord. Up the undermine. Top knot comes off. For Jonah on stand number 1. This is the 4th and final sheep on the board for these guys. Artify Hadfield just lets that one stand up. Got to get it back into position, get it sorted out where he was, and start all over again. Up the undermine, making a beautiful finish on that sheep. Top knot comes off for Artify. But out in front this time could be Jonathan Painter, maybe, right there with Brooke Hamilton. Jonathan Painter, good strong finish from the young man on stand number 3. Winds his way up the backbone of the sheep. Another shot, and Jonathan will turn for home. Brooke Hamilton there. Here comes Jonah Karina Tutapu as well on stand number 1. Way up the backbone he rolls, but Jonathan Painter down over the last front shoulder. Cheek coming off for Brooke Hamilton. Cheek coming off for Jonah Karina Tutapu. But if Jonathan Painter can keep it together on that last leg, and that sheep looks an ugly one, so it's a big ask. But down he comes. He's going to be in front when he heads for the red button. Everything goes his way. Right out onto the back leg. Another couple of shots. And one of these guys is heading for the red button. It looks like it's going to be Jonathan Painter. Sweeps over the tail. Well done, Jonathan. Nice share from Paeatua. And the Southland boy, Jonah Karina Tutapu. And then goes Brooke Hamilton for the red button as well. Will Rogers, strong finish from the big left-hander. Well done, Will. He's already hit his button. Out it goes. And down the last side for our last two competitors, Artify and Mark. Under the front leg for Artify and way down the flank. He's had a niggly one all the way through the sheep. It's cost him a few shots. But he's got it under control as he sweeps out onto the back leg. Another couple of blows for Artify. And out it goes. Red button time for Artify Hadfield. Well done, Artify. Just Mark Baxter going to have the last say, but not by much in heat number 2 of the junior semi-finals. There it is. Give them a hand, folks. Looking for the top 6, remember. One more heat to go, though.
Heat number 3. Ready to go up soon, guys. We've just about got them off the board. Stand 1, Braden Clifford. On 2, Daniel Biggs, Leon Harris, Jake Ellison, Ruben Alabama.
One of the special stories about the Golden Shears is I think it must be one of the only world-class events that relies entirely on volunteers and support from the community. And one of the organisations that get right behind the Golden Shears is our local radio station, our only local radio station here in Wairarapa, More FM. And with me here is the host of the Brent Gear Breakfast Show on More FM, Brent Gear.
Yeah, well, I've got the same name as the host, so I might as well do it, right?
Yeah, why not?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Mate, it's a great event to be in. We've been involved with the Shears now for, well, as long as I've certainly been doing it, 14 years. And it's not until you actually come to the event you realise how epic really it is. You know, the competitors, they're all athletes, they're all fit. I'd hate to sort of measure the litres of sweat that are poured off these guys.
It's like a marathon.
Well, it is. In fact, you almost have that with the triathlon. But look, it's a wonderful event from a local perspective to be involved in because it brings together the rural community like, to be fair, no other event in the country does.
And so you've been helping us out by doing a bit of promotion through the radio show and your other radio stations underneath the MediaWorks brand.
Yep.
Give us a bit of an indication of how much interest you've had from those promotions where you might be just, say, giving away a ticket.
Well, I think the interesting thing is that even though the event's on our back doorstep, there's a number of locals that still have never been. So we're very fortunate tonight to be hosting two couples that have never been to the Shears before.
Oh, great.
One that actually grew up in the sheds, would you believe? Never been to the Golden Shears. And another couple where the husband actually involved in livestock transport. Again, never been to the Shears. So very much looking forward to hosting them tonight and having a bit of fun. The tickets have gone like hotcakes, as you would imagine. Everyone loves a good night out. And the level of interest has been fantastic. Photos with our giant mascot, Abraham. Very, very well received yesterday.
How often do we hear that story, though? You hear people that are from here, lived here their whole lives and think, oh, yeah, I'll go one day. We get people from all around the world coming here to Masterton to see the Golden Shears. I've just been talking to a couple from England who have come especially here. There's a strong Welsh contingent. Last year I was talking to a group from the USA who have come, and yet those on our doorstep always put it off. But I tell you,
exactly.
You were new to this region 14 years ago. You probably never came to the Shears before that, and you haven't missed one since.
No, it is absolutely fantastic. And I think too that hosting the Worlds a few years ago as well has just promoted the event so well for Wairarapa that more and more people will be watching it on the live stream now. Start saving, book your tickets, come to Wairarapa next year. You will not be disappointed.
Well, Brent, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you and your team at More FM, 89.5 if you're here in Wairarapa, or of course morefm.co.nz if you're anywhere else around the world. But thank you very much for helping us promote this event. We have been inundated with interest, and I'm sure you've played your big part in that, so cheers.
Wonderful. Thanks, Kieran.
From ever going to Tikawiti again, but I'll tell you that story later. But up the neck, Alabaster, the young fella there from Taipi on the stand 5. Daniel Biggs from Mangamahu up the neck. It's another good heat. We've got a Welshman in the middle. Brandon Clifford from Waikaka. Got fond memories of Waikaka show in the hall years ago, or a 4-stand show. Perrindale 4-wheel ewes. But unfortunately, like other lot of competitions have just gone on the wayside. But yeah, Alabaster's just freeing himself up a bit. He's just going to keep the sheet moving, keep his feet moving, and he's got a plan. So he's got an old head on young shoulders, and it's quite good. He doesn't actually share a lot like his dad, but we'll get into more of that later as well. But the Englishman up the long blow on stand 6. Biggs nearly finished the long blow. Young man here on stand 2, currently at Fielding High School. Down the last side he comes. Comes from a shearing family, but luckily he takes after his mother when it comes to quality. His dad was a bit hairy. Down the last side he comes. Man on stand number 1, Bradford, Clifford, Southland, he wants to be there. Jake Ellison, local man, he must have a bit of support. But Alabaster snuck that sheep out in about 1:50. The good shearing sheep, there's a lot of wool on them. There's no shortcuts. And that's why you just need to do the little things right. Take a big belly and a nice deep undermine and a big neck and shoulder, and once you get all that right, you'll be away. Down the first leg comes a big fella down there on stand 5. Up the undermine he sweeps now. Looks like his combs are running pretty well, Norman. He's busy talking. Actually, it's pointless asking Norm about how gear runs because his was terrible, still is. Dawson Biggs into the first leg. Alabaster up the neck. He's got a bit of a wriggler there, just settle him down. Jake Ellison. So yeah, she's going to be a hell of a final later, Norman, when we can get our top 6 shearers out of these 18. And like I say, we've still got a lot of shearing to go in this heat, on this semi-final. Biggs looks comfortable up the neck. And these, these sheep, they really test these young shearers, Norman. And, there might be a few nerves, but I'm sure once they get shearing, they'll settle into their work.
Yeah, they will, and no doubt there's a few nerves up there, Jerome. It's a big event, always in front of a good crowd, and to get through into a Golden Shears final is fantastic for any competitor, doesn't matter what grade. So yeah, definitely going to be nerves. Like you say, they do settle down, and these guys, they're not that experienced, so they've got to deal with the nerves as well. But Daniel Biggs, yeah, he does look comfortable as he sweeps up the backbone of the sheep on sheep number 2. Still a couple left in his pen waiting for him. Young Ruben Alabaster, he's played this game before, but he's getting, I was going to say it's not his first rodeo, but maybe rodeo's not something he wants to get into if he can't sit on that sheep, but he is sitting on it. And he's got it back under control, and away down the last front shoulder he goes, right there with Daniel Biggs now. Daniel just pulled back those couple of shots when Ruben started kicking. Now the Welshman on stand number 3 sweeps up the long blow as well, and the Englishman Henry Moe down the far side on stand number 6, who just had been notified that that young Englishman down there, he's a newly single as well, Jerome, so he's looking for a bride. If you've got any one of these other Wanganui River ladies looking for a young Englishman, he could be the man. Right out onto the back leg for him. Ruben Alabaster into the pen first for, no, he's not, into the pen second rather for sheep at number 3. Daniel Biggs from Mangamahu slides into the first hind leg, opens it up. Cleon Harries from Wales right out onto the back leg. Another couple of shots for him, and he'll be looking for his 3rd sheep. Braden Clifford's in the same spot, this young guy from Waikaka. Good, clean young shearer, this man. Chasing the shows around the South Island. Good to see him up here in Masterton. Oh, not all the Masterton girls will treat you like that, Braden, if you treat them nicely. I hope.
I think, Norm, if we want to give young men, woman advice, we probably won't get any from you, thank you. But this Biggs is going good. Look at him onto the first front shoulder. Alabaster, he's just settled down again. He had a little bit of a kicker, but he's not going to panic. He's up the neck and round the back of the ear, but I like the look of this Daniel Biggs. He looks like he's just freed up a bit, Normie. He's just got a bit of a flow on, and his gear's running, and he's got a bit of confidence, eh?
Yep, I was going to say the sheep are sitting there for him too. That one's given a bit of a wriggle, but nothing to worry about. But yeah, you get the confidence up, your gear's running, you know it's running well, and the sheep sit there for you. That's the big thing in this grade, and you can just whip a bit of wool off in no time at all and get a few blows ahead of everyone else, put the pressure on them. Ruben Alabaster, way through the long blow, he sweeps this big fella down there on stand number 5, winds the wool off the backbone, and he's turning for home. He's a beautiful young shearer as well, this guy. Just follows one blow with another, does each section as it comes to him, and that's the way around the sheep. Right out onto the back leg for Daniel Biggs, over the tail low, and another couple of shots, and the big fella on stand at number 2 is going to head in for his fourth and final sheep. 6 and 40 seconds gone on the clock, 6 minutes 40 seconds. Out he backs with his fourth sheep. Henry Moe, the Englishman, down there on 6, under the front leg and away into the flank on the last side. So Ruben, he just got to bring the head out. He's made the right choice. Got to keep the sheep under control to get the wool off it. There's always more than one way to skin a cat, as you'd well know, Joey. I hope you haven't been skinning too many cats, but
No, I don't. I don't eat a lot of cat now. I tried it quite a bit in Asia. It's actually beautiful. It's Biggs up the undermine. He's going good, this boy from Fielding High School on stand 2. Alabaster down the belly. Jake Ellison down the belly. Henry Mayo, the Englishman. Oh, looks like Alabaster's got a bit better sheep. He's been tested, but he's got great points. But oh dear, this Biggs, he's settled in quite well from the heats. Norm, he's coming around onto the first front shoulder and he's just shearing his own sheep. He's not worrying about anything else. Swinging around, he's just going to keep that quality, just keep that bottom tooth on the skin and just keep shearing away quietly. Brandon Clifford, he's got a bit of a kicker there, and Biggs is playing. They're very strong sheep, and I reckon these junior shearers are doing a great job controlling them, Norm, because I reckon they'd even test you out. Well, mind you, that wouldn't be hard because you'd never move your feet, and you are quite limited in your shearing, but I think they're showing a lot of control.
yes, about as much self-control as I'm showing Jerome at the moment, to be honest. But yeah, they're a real test for these young shearers, but of course we want to test the young shearers. We want the very best up there and the guys that can handle the pressure, handle the sheep as well, and handle everything else that's thrown at them over the course of their heat. They're the ones we want to see up there in the final. When we crown the junior champion, we want him to be the best of the best. Way down the first hind leg for Braden Clifford. He's a Southland boy, this young man. Good, clean young shearer. Up down the mine he sweeps. And Daniel Biggs, well done Daniel, hits the red button. His time clock has stopped in just a fraction over 9 minutes. Down comes Ruben Alabaster onto the last side. Jake Ellison is there as well. Jake just pulling that one back into position again and again. And once again, right out onto the back leg. Yep, another couple of shots. And there's Ruben Alabaster. So the big fella on stand number 5 hits the red button. So does Jake Ellison from Masterton, the local fella there on stand number 4. Leaves the rest of the field up on the board still, but not for long for Henry Moe, the Englishman. Looking for a bride, girls. He's looking for a bride, this young man. Out the hole it goes. And maybe one of your, probably not one of your ex-girlfriends, Jerome, would suit that young fella probably. And away through the long blow for Braden Clifford. Another couple of shots, he turns for home. Just got the last side to wipe off, and he'll be with the rest of the field heading off the board. Cleon Harries from Wales hits the red button. Out it goes. Well done for the Welshman. In the top 18 of the junior. Good to see him here. Looking for a spot in the final. Down comes Braden Clifford. Don't count this boy out. He's very clean. If he's kept the quality all the way through, which it looks like he has on the scoreboard up top, he still could be in with a chance. A couple of points behind on time, but time's not everything in the junior grade. Right out over the tail for Braden Clifford, all the way from Waikaka, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a big hand, our top 18 junior grade shearers. Well done, guys. Good luck. And looking forward to seeing who's going to make that big final.
Thank you, Norm, and thank you, everybody, for your attendance this morning. We will be starting at 10 to 1, so there's not a lot of time left. Everyone's got about 40 minutes, perhaps. So those that want lunch, obviously out the back with our volunteers and what have you, and judges, we do need to start on time. We have a big program this afternoon. So 10 to 1, we want those in the first heat of the intermediate semi-finalists, please assemble down here. Mark Ferguson, Chris Dixon, Cobb Higgins, Dane Fredrickson, Jesse Barclay and Quinton Chase. So yeah, 1:45, 10 to 1, we're underway again. Thank you, we'll look forward to seeing you this afternoon.
So Paul, you're the chief referee here this year at the Worlds. The shearing judges on the board, you see them moving along, the shearers judging with their little counters. What do they actually count and what are they judging there on the board?
Well, they're looking for mistakes that the shearers make, and we see the shearer's made a mistake. He's actually left this wool on here, and if he cuts it off again on the board, he's going to incur a penalty. So it's up to the judges on the board to mark that accordingly. If he leaves it on, he'll get picked up out the back, and the judges will mark him out the back.
Okay, so the guys will mark him out the back. So why is it a penalty?
Well, what's happened is the wool staple has been cut shorter, so this wool that's cut off is actually valueless. So we don't want to see that. We want to see a full staple of wool that's been used in whatever process it can be used for.
So that's a shearing fault, and he'll get penalised for that.
Absolutely.
So Paul, the time clock stopped, the shearer's finished. What are we looking at when we're outside, with the judges outside?
Well, basically we're looking at the volume of wool here, and depending on how much wool is on, how many points to come off.
Okay.
So the farmer wants all that wool, so whether it's cut off and it's short, as a second cut, or it's left on the sheep, the shearer will incur penalties, and that will go against his name.
So if he makes mistakes, he's not going to get away with it one way or the other.
That's what the judges are here for.
You're bloody hard men, you judges. Bloody hard men. And the time penalties, of course, come into it as well. So the shearer that wins the World Championship this year is obviously going to have to be not only the fastest, but obviously the cleanest, the man with the best quality, inside and outside.
Absolutely, it's not a race. They have to perform quality-wise, very much so, and the quality is a big part of it. The first shearer off will not necessarily win it.
No, okay, so it's where the skill comes into it, being able to shear fast and clean.
Absolutely, and it's the points that are incurred on the board and out the back, as well as the time points, which will determine the winner.
So Peter, you're the chief wool handling referee this year at the World Champs, so none better qualified really to tell me a little bit about how you guys operate your judging systems and what we've got in front of us here. Is a line of second shear fleece obviously that's already been shorn off and sorted into lines, so maybe you could tell me a little bit about these differing lines of wool here.
Well, Norm, the main thing for a competitor is to keep the main line as even for colour, length as possible.
Yep.
Those are the two main criteria. So you want to get all the oddment type processing faults, discoloured wools, and all the short wools out of that main line.
Yep.
As the shearer starts, the first thing he does is take off the belly. So we have the belly here. We've got the fribs, which are at the head of the belly. They've got to come out because they're usually really quite discoloured.
Yep.
As the shearer goes around the sheep, we're looking at taking off the pieces from along the side, which are shorter and usually more discoloured.
Yep.
The eye clips off the top knot, they've got to come out because they're a real processing fault because they've got medialated fibre, which means it won't accept dye.
Yeah, they're hollow. Yeah.
Yeah, they're hollow. And of course the socks, which are real kempy as well, so they've got to come out as well. So you basically got 5 different types of oddments which come off the board.
And they keep them separate from the good main line. Obviously in the shed at the workplace, they're doing that to increase the value of the final product for the farmer.
Yes, that certainly is. On today's present pricing system, you could say that these oddments are basically worth between $1 and $1.50. That stuff there, the main body line, could be worth in the vicinity of $2.40 to $3. So there is quite a difference.
So if that was all in there, Peter, that would devalue that.
That would devalue that main line wool. Yeah. The competitor puts them in baskets and they go outside to be judged by other judges out there. Competitors get penalised for any stuff that they leave in that you see on the board.
So basically, the lower the score at the end of it all, the better for the competitor.
Exactly. Yep, that's right.
We just talked about the second shear or short wool fleeces, and we have here a full length fleece which has just come off the sheep, so we have to get it from here onto the table. Obviously you're my judge and my coach, so I'm going to have a crack at throwing this onto the table, and you're going to explain to me how we do it and where I can lose points in that with the throw.
You've got to find the 2 hind legs, Norm.
Are they still on the sheep?
They're the most important part of the fleece.
Oh, okay.
The 2 hind legs of the fleece.
Okay.
So you crimp it back towards you, rolling it as you go back towards you.
Find the hind legs
From the hind legs.
and roll it back towards me.
Yep.
Okay, Peter. So I've got the fleece up and it's got to go on the table. So what am I aiming for? What are you going to be judging me on with the throw?
Throw it in the air so that it lands nicely on the table with not too much overhang. Fill the table up with wool.
Well, you're my coach. I'll see how good you are very shortly. How's that?
Not too bad. Not too bad for a beginner. There's a bit of overhang, but not too bad. And then you start skirting. You go around and take off the pieces, the shorter discoloured wool. But the important thing is not to overskirt. The most important thing after that, Norm, is the clean-up.
Yep.
That's quite important, making sure there's no skerricks of wool on your board or under your table anywhere. So you want a nice, clean, clear floor everywhere.
When does the time start and stop for the wool handlers?
The time for the wool handler starts when the shearer stops the machine.
On the last sheep.
On the last sheep. The ideal to be a top competitor is to get your clean up done and your broom up as quickly as possible.
So the broom stops the clock, lifted?
The broom stops the clock.
So obviously the competitor that's going to win the World Championships in the wool handling this year is going to be the cleanest, fastest, most organised, accurate wool handler here.
They'll be the top of the game. Yep.
Hay barn cops the brunt of a lot of the weather up here. One year we lost
all the freshly picked cherries that we had sitting in storage that were
perfectly ready for shearing. If it hadn't been for the
loud bang and the flag and pour hit me in the nuts. And
it hurts for about 5 minutes and then, over the next few weeks it'll drop off.
For advice on protecting yourself, as well as everything else on your farm or business, talk to FMG. Ask around about us or call 0800 366 466. FMG, we're here for the good of the country.